The CNN 24/7 cycle, they just keep grinding out. They take the easy way out typically. Wouldn't you agree, Dre?
They do. But I think that's part of the discussion is how do we change the narrative? So obviously we have a problem, and then so now we need to talk about how we change that problem. Part of that is getting more of us involved in the process. The big problem, and I've seen it, and Stan can, or back me up on this, it's how many of us are part of the process. So this business has been good at, what's Skylar over there? Well, has been good at getting, African American representation in front of the camera. However, we probably, and I can attest to this, have not done as good a job as getting black people involved in, producer jobs, assignment editor jobs, management jobs. I mean, I can think of, I've worked at several stations around the country. I've never had a black news director. I've never had a black general manager. I've had, I think, one senior black executive producer in my entire career. I've had one black assignment editor. So this is part of the problem. It's like when it gets to the anchor desk, I mean, there's a lot of different levels that it has to go through before it gets to the anchor set, and there's not a lot of us in that chain of command. And that's how we change this process. We have to get more black people, more people of color, more Hispanics, more Asians involved in the process, more women, more women of color involved in the process, so that we don't have this problem where we have this imbalance of, okay, yeah, we have this mugshot, okay, but you talk about, who's gonna take 2 hours to go through somebody's social media account to find the picture of him on a skateboard, and instead
as one of the people in this millennial generation, I feel like it don't take 2 hours to find it. Like, let's be very clear.
Okay.
Like, I do pretty good. I do a pretty good job on social media, and bro, it does not take 2 hours.
Okay, so
if you care enough,
that's the point.
If you care enough,
that's the point.
And that's the issue. I think more than anything.
We need people who care enough to take the 5 minutes to go into.
That's
what
all
I'm trying to say is that there aren't a lot of those people who even have the 5 minutes, and sometimes it's not even about a care thing. It's about, a lot of times it didn't even occur. Because I've had myriad conversations with white people in the business who, when I raise an issue to them, they're like, wow, you know what? I hadn't even thought about that. I did. So not everybody, listen, not everybody's like sinister and, they want to keep the black man down and that sort of thing. I mean, is there that out there? Yes, I'm being realistic. Yes, there is that. But not every white person is in the room saying, I want to hold the black man down. A lot of them, they just don't think of these things.
I don't operate thinking that everybody that does it maliciously. But if you accidentally stab somebody in the back, you know what I mean? Like, the fact that it's an accident doesn't really matter to the guy that just got stabbed. And what we're really acting like, from a journalistic perspective, and like Kondwani said, I think it fell on some deaf ears earlier. Yeah, these are corporate interests that we have to pay attention to, and everybody wants ratings, but these are people's lives. And when you talk about the reason why people are afraid to come into our community, when you talk about the reason why there's such a lack of investment in anything authentically black, when you talk about why there's an innate fear of black bodies, media and journalism and art and culture and all of these things are fed by these assumptions that there is something innately wrong with black people. So yes, there is a bigger onus on those news media organizations to right the wrongs that they themselves have perpetuated for generations. And if we're talking about changing systems, like, we have to, it can't just be as trivial as some people don't have make 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Like we don't have a moment of being able to talk about what's convenient anymore, when at the end of the day, our kids, more than anything else, are criminalized before they even have a chance to become adults. So like, I think that, as we're saying, like, the discussion is really important, and yeah, there's not like a general cookie cutter answer to fix all of these problems, but at the end of the day, we're not working hard enough. And that's me alone. Like, we all have to take our ownership of that segment of the story. We all need to do a better job of holding ourselves accountable, of holding those around us accountable, even if we're talking about going up the chain of command. We got to be unafraid to say truth to power when power ain't operating the way power should operate.
I got a quick question for everybody. Show of hands. How many here believe that and I hate lumping all media together, because when people do that to me, I just go ballistic. But that being said, how many of you think the media intentionally goes out of its way to project black people in a negative light? Just a show of hands. Go out of our way. Not all.
But then who do you consider media?
Yeah, majority.
We're making a blanket statement.
Majority of that. Majority.
There you go. Number one, you don't lump all media together. You distinguish between legitimate media and what I consider agenda media. Okay, but just a show of hands here, people generally think that there is a planning meeting. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somewhere in a planning meeting, as we're going to decide what we're going to cover today. All right. What story can we make black folks look bad today?
Some companies would do that.
Anybody have any suggestions how we can make black folks look bad today? Yes, ma'am.
I don't think it's necessarily planning. I think it's the mindset. It's that inherent bias that people carry with them when they're working in their particular job.
You'd be surprised how many people in the public literally think we sit and we plan, how can we make black folks look bad on TV today? Really?
Not even planning a meeting as in like right now with this day and age, but I know for a fact that years ago, probably before you was even there, right, they did have those meetings where they said, yo, let's like how, like even if you look at movies, if you look at television shows, if you look at the portrayal, so you telling me that all of these negative portrayals of black people was by accident? No, I feel like they had meetings, so I feel like as the years went on, it just became clockwork, right? Like even if nobody ever utters a racial slur ever again a day in their life, black people are going to be born, they're going to be oppressed.
Let me address it. Before I even got in the media in 1970, the only images I saw of black people prior to that was part of the civil rights struggle. People marching, people being, attacked by police, people being attacked by white people, schools trying to be integrated, people throwing rocks and hitting black people with sticks. And those are the only images I saw on TV of African Americans. Anybody around my age? I'm pushing 70 now, right? That's all we saw on TV. You didn't see anybody of color delivering the news. All you saw was us fighting for civil rights, the only images. There were no positive stories ever about black folks other than trying to get civil rights, Voting Rights Act and Civil Rights Act and things like that, okay? All the time I'm watching, I'm seeing Dr. King, I'm thinking the whole time I'm sitting there as a 12, 13, 14-year-old, any second now he's going to be killed. Somebody's going to run up and shoot him. Well, eventually that did happen, and those were the only images we saw back then. We've come a long way. You have to give this country at least some credit for having come a long way since 50 years ago. No. Okay.
We're the same country that professes to be the world's moral compass, the same country that tells other countries, right, that the oppressive things that they're doing are wrong when literally we do the exact same thing here. I think that it almost lets us too much off the hook to talk about how far we've come. When we're in a space where too many people don't feel the personal responsibility to roll up their sleeves and get their hands dirty. It's almost like when you tell people you've come a mighty long way. You know what I mean? Like, what you're not saying to them is we got a mighty long way to go. So, like, it allows people to kind of...
Aaron, all I'm saying, there are some of us who are old enough to remember when you couldn't go into a downtown store in Baltimore as a black person and try on clothing because the clerks would say it would rub off. Black folks weren't allowed. You had to go in the back door of the famous bar here. Anybody from Baltimore originally, right? Am I right about that? Yeah. Okay. Now, that doesn't happen today. So at least you have to acknowledge, okay, it's not like it was 50, 60 years ago. We still have a long way to go. But at least give credit. There is some progress. A whole lot of problems still. I get it.
Yeah, but after credit in what? Because some of us have to continue living.
Right. There you go.
Finding new ways to oppress doesn't mean that. Right. It's like perfect example. Right. Even like my man Tony Lords. Right. He do a lot of reentry work in D.C. Right. And he was giving a talk one time, and he talked about how the terminology around when convicted felons, they come home, right? It went from, ex-felon, ex-con to like returning citizen, right? Returning citizen sound way better than ex-con, right? But they still go through the same shit when they come home, right? So it's about just masking new ways of oppression. That's it. So yes, we probably don't physically go through the same exact trials and tribulation that y'all went through. And I'm not even trying to compare nothing that's going on now. But what I'm saying is, so to say that we came a long way, I feel like that's just it's false.
Yeah.
Right? Because even if you look at
oftentimes the subtle oppression is worse than the actual physical
Right,
oppression that
right.
was going on here. So, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'd like to hear from you.
I'd like to say, can I come up front?
Stand over here. Stand over here.
I like that suit too.
My care package came in.
There you go.
I'd like to say a few things. I've been a businessman in this town for over 50 years. When I first came into the business that I originated in dentistry, I work with my hands. I'm a certified dental technologist. When I opened my business in this town, I couldn't buy supplies. I had to take my two oldest kids with an empty suitcase, get on a train, go to New York, bring back supplies so I could keep my business running. You can't change white folks' hearts, and we got to understand that. It's embedded in them. Our people don't know enough about our history to understand how great a people we are.
Yes.
If we've come this far in this short length of time. And it takes us picking up somebody to give them what you do for a living. If you gave another kid 10 minutes of your work time to teach them something that you do to make a living. You can't have power without a financial base somewhere. That's all this country is interested in, is finance. But we support every race of people
Yes.
than our own. Take me, for instance. There were many black dentists, at least 50 when I came in this business. They didn't send me into work. I had to go to the white community. But in order to get in the white community, I had a white pickup delivery man. I put him in a uniform. Army worked with uniforms. He went out and picked up my packages. The only thing they heard from me was on the telephone. But my product was good enough that they continued to deal with me. This is something, you know, all of us have talents. I believe in entrepreneurship. Number one, your lesson plan. I don't care what, there's only one formula to success. The commodity changes, but not the formula. And you got to follow that formula. Your formula could be the same as hers. She could be making dresses and you selling food. When you deal with that, the biggest problem I have with black folks, if you have a business and on your door says we open from 10 to 5, don't let me come there and you're not open. Get there. If you open at 10, get in at 9. Our time value is in trouble. Wherever you work, they give you a time schedule. You get in at a certain time. If you don't, you penalize. In some way, somebody move up in your spot, get there before you do. And it's rough out here. But you've got to get your mindset that we don't need white people in that sense. We got enough talent in this room to create a big conglomerate just using the talents that you have. It's sad. It breaks my heart. I go around schools talking about what I do. You got it in your hands. You got it in here. They can't take that away. I got my certification in New York at New York University in 1964. I'm still at it. I'm retired. But I'm in it here talking about it to stimulate some young minds in order to deal with what I do. I'm willing to give it up if you want. But I can't make you take it. That's all I have to say.
Scott Henry from WBAL-TV is joining us also. Scott, you're going to be taking questions from the audience folks as well.
We don't have a microphone.
Oh, don't have a microphone.
Well, that was right, but if you guys want to say anything in just in regards to the topic, we ask that you come over here and we'll take questions as we go.